awkwardly to the Cleveland Cavaliers here, who have a big game tonight. Game number 5 in Detroit. We talked about it already, 8 p.m. The question is, how much faith do you have in the Cavaliers, who not only this year, where they are 6-0 at home and 0-5 on the road in the playoffs, but really the entire time Donovan Mitchell's been here, and obviously James Harden is new, but for the most part, Donovan Mitchell's been here. The Cavs have been very good at home in the playoffs and very bad on the road. Yeah. So Zach, I'll go to you first. What makes you think tonight will be different?
Well, it's not like the entire future of the franchise is at stake or anything.
Not at all.
60 hours.
Yeah.
Right? But the temperature's good right now, Bull. I think they clearly have the momentum. Now, what does that mean? You ask fair questions. They've stunk on the road. They've blown chances. They've dug themselves holes. Last time they were in Detroit, Evan Mobley had 1 rebound. Right? That's unacceptable. Now, so we've seen a different version of Evan Mobley. We obviously saw history-making Donovan Mitchell the other night in a game that Harden was also good. So I feel like the Cavs are the better team in this series. I think we all thought that. We didn't see that over the first 2 games. We saw it over the last 2. So what can they do in terms of limiting turnovers, in terms of being good on the glass, just getting the best version of these guys? I hope momentum means something, and I think that it will. I think one of the things you look is the starts. They've buried themselves early in Detroit. So if they're down 5 or 6 at the end of the first quarter tonight, it's like, okay, let's see. Just don't get down 14. They've used up too much energy the first 2 trips to Detroit in trying to come back from those early holes.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I
trust them. Do you trust them?
Me?
Dustin.
Do I trust them?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I trust them.
Because we had a podcast yesterday. You seemed confident.
I'm confident that they're going to play well. I think they're going to win Game 5. But I think that after this game, we'll be able to have a conversation about the toughness level of the Cavaliers. Because I think in Games 1 and 2, Detroit sort of punked us a little bit. Like, I think that they were more physical.
Yeah.
However, that changed when it came to Cleveland. I think the Cavs were more physical than the Pistons in Games 3 and 4, especially Game 4. But, like, they've been a soft team for the last X amount of years, basically since LeBron's not been here. We've said they're soft. They can't. They're soft as Charmin, right? Like we've had those conversations. Well, I think tonight, Game 5 on the road, if they can find a way to out-physical the Pistons, who have been very physical in the postseason and very physical at home, obviously, then we'll know a lot more about this team's character and how they're built. Because they're going to need to play tough tonight. They're going to have to grind out a victory on the road. They're going to have to be physical. And, the way that they played Cunningham and Duran and Harris and these other guys, especially on the perimeter, like the refs were letting a lot of calls go early in the series. The Cavs adjusted, I think, in Games 3 and 4. And now tonight, it's kind of like, let's figure it out.
The Cavs, the calls, the Cavs got called for a lot more fouls in Detroit. The Pistons got called for a lot more fouls in Cleveland. Mm-hmm. Both coaches complained, to try to get the calls their way.
All part of
what
the
happens.
Game. Yeah.
It is part of the drama of this. I think what's very unique to me about the Cavs, especially this year, is usually you worry that the reason you struggle on the road in the playoffs is that the other guys don't play well on the road. But that's not really been the case for the Cavs. Not that they've necessarily played well. The others have kind of been sporadic. I don't think it has much to do with home or road.
Yeah.
It's the Cavs stars that haven't played well on the road, which is shocking.
Great point. That's right.
Harden, bad on the road. Donovan, bad on, for them, bad on the road. And Evan Mobley, bad on the road. They're not losing because they're not getting contributions from the bench. Yeah. They're losing these games because, look at this. Donovan's 5 less points per game.
For his career, not just this year.
Oh, for his career. Well, that doesn't do us any good.
Well, it's even more drastic this year.
Well, yeah. This year it's got to be even more than that. Yeah. So this is continue. So to have faith in the Cavs, it's hard because we've seen this show so many times. But I do agree with you guys. I think the Cavs are ultimately the better team. I think they ultimately should win the series. But they've got to prove that they can win on the road and that the momentum can carry over. And if Donovan and James Harden, especially, Mobley too, but especially those 2 guys, if they play the way they did the last 2 games, the Cavs will win. There's no doubt about it. But they've both been very inconsistent in this postseason.
No matter where you're playing, if James Harden turns it over 9 times, you're in trouble.
Right. Look at the last 2 games. He's had, 5 turnovers total the last 2 games?
He had 11 assists and 2 turnovers in Game 4. He had 3 turnovers in Game 3. So he had 5 turnovers in his last 2 games.
I think he's got 17 assists, 5 turnovers.
Over the first 2 games of this series, his turnovers outweighed his assists and his buckets.
Yes.
And that's just not a winning formula.
Right.
But you're right, Bull. We have hesitation. We need to see it. But I
Yeah.
think that the Pistons' offense has gone stagnant to a point, and I think that has allowed the best version of Evan Mobley on defense. Blocking shots, taking up space, things like this. So if that can continue, and the Cavs have done a great job of making Cade Cunningham work for everything.
Yeah.
Duncan Robinson beat him up in Detroit. He didn't really there. Dennis Jenkins for that stretch in Detroit was prime Joe Dumars instead of a guy that played at Iona 2 years ago, right? So Dennis Jenkins came here and didn't score. But to me, it's Mobley on defense. It's covering the range. It's blocking shots. He's not going to have 15 boards against Durham, these guys, but we've seen Evan Mobley 8 boards. We've seen Jalen Durham. Like the Pistons have just got stagnant to me in the half court, and that has allowed the Cavs to be better defensively. In a lot of cases, cash it in going the other way.
Yeah, Bull, we talked about this yesterday too. Like Jared Allen in Game 4 didn't have a big stat line, but his impact was felt.
It was,
and
no doubt.
and we need that tonight too. I mean, like you mentioned Mobley and how he's played well defensively. I think that both big men, Allen and Mobley, have to have big nights and continue to suffocate the paint.
Yeah, I think ultimately something you pointed out, Zach, like Captain Obvious, I guess, but the turnovers are going to determine who wins this game because the Pistons in the first 2 games, it didn't matter if their half-court offense was great or not because they were scoring on fast breaks so often because there were so many turnovers. They were killing the Cavs in points off turnovers, but that hasn't been the case the last 2 games. And so if the Cavs protect the ball and the Pistons can't get out and run, then they got to settle for half-court offense. And as you said, their half-court offense looked lousy, especially the second half last game was unbelievable. And so if the Cavs can avoid the turnovers and force the Pistons to beat them in the half court, the Cavs will probably win the game.
Yeah, I think there's 2 ways to look at it. One is that when the Pistons have their 5 out there, they have Thompson and Durham. They're both struggling offensively, so they have a few places they can go. And then overall, I think the Cavs have done better. And Mike and I were talking about this. Mike, I'm going to let you talk about what you think it is. But they've done a good job of just – obviously, sometimes Cade Cunningham's talent takes over, and he gets in the lane and gets buckets. But they've made him work for everything. And his body language late in Game 4 indicated that he's really frustrated.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, Cade in the series is playing 41 minutes per game. He's averaging 23.5 points, 8.3 rebounds. 8.3 assists and 4.8 rebounds in the series. By the numbers, they look really good. He's played well. Until you look at the shooting percentages, where he's at 39.5% from the floor, and he's averaging 5.5 turnovers. He leads the NBA in turnovers this playoffs. I think part of the reason the Cavs have been able to slow him down is, A, they're making him work defensively. He's not getting possessions off. They're not attacking him like they're attacking Duncan or they're attacking Tobias Harris in switches. But you saw a couple of Donovan's threes in that historic third quarter in Game 4. He got Duncan on him and said, you're going to have to guard me. I'm going to change directions 3-4 times. You're going to have to expend energy on that end of the ball, that end of the court. They're also doing what Toronto did to Donovan and James, which is top blocking him for 94 feet, forcing him to work to get the ball up the court. And when you're the only guy that has real creation ability on that team, and so much of their offensive execution in the half court falls on what Cade Cunningham can create by himself. Over the course of 41 minutes a game, with only 1 day off in between games, by the way, which is different than the first round series where you get 2, sometimes even 3 days off. Yeah. This is game off, game off, game off. There's a lot of wear and tear that comes on your body. And also with Cade, he suffered a collapse lung a month ago. Like, this is not a Cade who's been healthy. He would have been a top 3 MVP finisher if he didn't miss about 10, I think it was 12 games, maybe 11, whatever the number was. With the collapsed lung, he had 3 games in the regular season to get his win back. Goes and plays pretty well against the Orlando Magic in round 1, but when you have a collapsed lung, I have to imagine your stamina and your physical ability to night in, day off at that level against as much pressure as he's facing. It takes a toll. And, yeah, his numbers 23, 8, and 5 look good, but it hasn't been efficient. And in the only game that the Cavs weren't able to kind of handle him down the stretch, well, that was the game Detroit won with the most ease. Yeah. And the games that he hasn't been able to kind of get off late, the games have been close down to the final minute and or the Cavs have won. So, yeah, Cleveland limiting Cade has been a major factor.
I don't think Donovan Mitchell should sit the entire second half. They look terrible when he's off the court.
He can't come off the court.
Well, he can come off
unless
briefly.
it's not a close game.
We even saw the other night, though, his rest that's normally 3-4 minutes was like 90 seconds.
Yeah.
Maybe not even that.
And they have to
They
be
did adjust
strategic
real
about it,
quick
yeah.
on that. They adjusted in games 3 and 4. Kenny adjusted not the overall minutes he's played, but when he sat, much longer rest in the first half, and then those second half stints.
Why isn't he playing more minutes?
I don't know.
You rested him all regular season. Now's the time.
I don't have an answer for.
The Cavs have looked awful with him off the court. Awful. Even in the second half where they played great, those few minutes he was off the court, that's when the Pistons made their run to make it a game for a little while.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, and obviously you hope that Donovan Mitchell just takes over from the start.
Yeah, right.
Are you expecting 40? I don't know.
Yeah.
But to me, the physicality and little things like that. But if Cade Cunningham's point and assist total doesn't get to at least 35, you feel good about the Cavs' chances, right?
Yeah.
Because the Pistons are just limited in their creators.
Yeah.
The Cavs need to be better with Donovan off the floor, but that's why they went and got Harden. Sam Merrill had some misses the other night. He had 2 big ones at a key moment.
Yeah.
Like the Cavs just have more options to be able to give Donovan, to me, at least a couple minutes rest each.
And I wonder if they're going to start Dean Wade again. I mean, he brings nothing to the table.
No, but he presses Cade Cunningham 94 feet.
He brings a little defense to the table. He's a complete non-factor. He doesn't shoot. He gets no rebounds. He doesn't pass the
He had
ball.
5 rebounds in game 4.
Yeah.
I mean, he played 25 minutes. I'm surprised. He's 7 feet
You just
tall.
said he has no rebounds. He had
he
5.
does virtually nothing besides play solid
Nothing that
defense.
shows up in the box score, but I'm going to push back on that. He
All right.
has been
He's-
in Cade Cunningham's grill
He
this
has been.
entire
He
series.
has. Thank you,
Every
sir.
moment that he's been out there, and that is his
But
role.
he's a 0 on offense, and that's going to catch up with them eventually.
Well, that's why he's not in the game when it matters.
Yeah.
It's like when they need to score points, he's not in the game.
Let me ask you guys a question real quick.
Yeah.
And Bull, your point earlier about the reason the Cavs have struggled on the road this postseason is because their stars haven't been as good is valid.
Yeah.
Who do you have more trust in, big picture? I want all 3 of you guys to answer this. The road version of whatever you're getting from Don, James, and Evan, or the home version of the Pistons, quote-unquote, big three? Tobias, Cade, and Duren at this point.
I'm going to have to lean with the Pistons right now because they won both games at home.
Dustin?
I mean, Bull probably makes a good point. Gun to my head, I'd probably say Pistons, but I think that there's a momentum shift here, guys. I do.
I agree. I think you have to say Pistons based on what we've seen or what we saw in games 1 and 2, but I do think the Cavs, not just the second half the other night, but for most of games 3 and 4, I feel like they have the momentum. And I feel like that the Detroit offense has gone stagnant to the point that the Cavs have figured out some things defensively to really take advantage of their limitations.
I hope
It's
guys
just,
are right. I wanna
guys,
believe
it's
that.
just about the turnovers. If we can stop dribbling the ball off our feet and giving them like easy fast break points, like we're going to be fine. Hate to have tennis references here, but let me make a reference here because I record my matches on this great app called Swing Vision, and it gives me stats when I get done playing.
Right, that's cool.
The last singles match I played, I had 51 unforced errors. 51! Which means I gave my opponent 51 points.
Yeah.
That's a lot of games. I lost the match.
Yeah.
Last night I had a match. You know how many errors I had? 26.
Okay.
And I won easily. So, like, if we can go to Detroit and eliminate those turnovers, guys, I don't even think it's going to be close. I don't think it's going to be close. I think we win by double digits.
Yeah, but it could.
I'm with you, Dustin.
They could. I just, it's hard to believe it because they haven't done it.
That's right.
And I know I want to just jump on the bandwagon of like, they've won the last 2. They're playing much better. They're the better team. It should continue to go that way. But we've seen time and time again, when you switch courts, the teams play differently.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something right now.
Yes, get fired up.
That little Caesars Arena, very cool arena, it's got nothing on Rocket.
And it's bad pizza. We all know that.
And their fans are ridiculous.
What do you mean?
After the game, I'm still pissed off about this.
Yeah.
Their fans are so cocky and acting like they've done something, and they're like, "Go back to Cleveland." We're like walking out, whatever, making fun of us and stuff.
Yeah. Which is weird.
Good luck with that bus ride.
Which is weird that Detroit
I'm like,
fans,
dude, you're from Detroit.
I know. It's
you
not
can't
like
make fun of Cleveland.
Yeah, I mean, what winning has Detroit done?
So I'm still a little fired up about that. We're going to win tonight.
Now, I'm sure a lot of people would say you go to an Ohio State game, the fans are obnoxious.
Well, our fans are idiots. That's fine. That's fine. But we win.
But at least Ohio State has earned that obnoxiousness.
We win
Detroit
98% of our games at home. So, we can be cocky. But Detroit, You stink.
I totally get it, Bull. You want to see it before you believe it.
Yeah.
But I think what we saw the last two games tells you that the Cavs are the better team, and they have to find a way. They have to do it. Whether it's one rebound, limiting the turnovers, taking out one guy, they have to do it. But I think what we've seen is a shift in the series, and in a much more confident, much deeper Cavs team.
If we don't win Game 3, guys, this series would have been over 2 nights ago.
Sure.
Yeah. If they lose tonight, are they losing the series?
No, it's not over.
82% of teams who win Game 5 when it's tied 2-2 end up going on.
I think the winner of
I didn't know that number, but that totally makes sense.
It does make sense.
I think the winner tonight will win the series. Yes. That's a bold take.
Good thing the Cavs are going to win tonight.
Yes.
I will say this: if the Cavs do win tonight, then obviously I'll think they're going to win the series, but I'd be very confident against the Knicks that maybe because I think they're a better team than the Knicks too. Now, the Knicks got a lot of rest here, which is somewhat of an advantage, but they might also be rusty. But nobody's beaten Oklahoma City.
And Anunoby's banged up right now. Isn't he still banged up?
But that's why this time off is so valuable for them. Let's survive the first quarter tonight down fewer than 9
What
points,
remaining team has the best chance to beat Oklahoma City?
The Spurs.
The Spurs were 5-1 against the Thunder this year.
Yeah.
An East team has no shot against the West team this year, right?
I wouldn't say no shot, but I think the two best teams in the league right now.
I hope that series goes 7 games and they beat the hell out of each other.
Yeah. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll check in with Tyvis. We'll see what crazy take he's got for us today on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.